Hey everyone, the Castle here. So, just gonna go over a bunch of thoughts, things, stuff, the usual. My kind of regular rant. I think the sun is a little bit too white now. I think I need to make the sun just a little bit more red, a little more orange. With that said, let's step through the regular process of XAlive open world survival experience. I am currently looking for iron ore, and I have my iron ore grabbing item. And I'm going to find nodes. So I'll use this thing that pings all the nodes so that they become uh, visible to me. And it turns out that there's some iron ore over here. I grab that. Then I take that iron ore and I go over there. But oh no! Something's shooting at me from up there, and I gotta like decide whether or not I want to fight that thing or keep running this way. So I'm just gonna run faster over here, and then take this invisible staircase because it doesn't exist yet up to here. Oh, and get back into combat mode, and then go into here, and then the door opens, and now I went from an out exterior area into one of the many almost infinite feeling interior spaces. So one of the things that ended up coming to light is I'm torn copying the blame design totally, like going all in on that style, because I feel like as human beings, we're not going to want to be in this kind of space over here all the time. Like, when I'm in a space like this, and there's like hundreds of spaces like this making up the entirety of the world map, what it'll end up doing is I just won't want to be anywhere. Like there's none of these areas feel safe. None of these areas are gonna feel. And sure, I can build areas that do feel safe, or maybe there could be like little dome areas that are actual like locations where you can go and kind of camp out and stuff like that. I just don't. I'm just not feeling it as far as like doing it everywhere, right? There's a few things actually. For one, how do you do all like the different biomes and stuff? Like I guess different kinds of areas where there's like different textures and essentially, or maybe different geometry styles. Does that mean does that count as a biome? I guess it does. It's just I'm having a hard time believing that someone's gonna want to build a base like here. You know what I mean? Like um I don't know. Like hey, I built a base at the top of this staircase number 400 over by the thing. I feel I feel like people are much more inclined to want to have a combination of the interior and exterior spaces. Now, the problem with this though is that it it might mean that like I guess in some ways maybe I'm kind of chickening out and I should just be going all in on this and not even questioning anything and just kind of just cut a swath against across the idea like of this human beings wanting to be in areas that are certain kinds of ways. Like I mean, people could build anywhere they want, right? Like this is an open world survival game, and I want people to just be able to drop the blocks in and do whatever they want wherever they want, and it be that kind of a sandbox experience, right? And you know what I mean. If you decide that you want to build a base right here on the top of this, like I can picture doing that, right? I could picture somebody maybe like dropping some stairs and like building like an overhanging ledge over here, and and have this actually be like a place where you can actually build a base. Now keep in mind I'm in the creative mode editor. Like when you're in the actual when you're building with the actual in-game survival mode character, the blocks snap to a grid. Alley Cat, you brought this up like when you saw me placing the blocks and it was much more precise. That's because I'm in the actual level editor right now. Right now, it doesn't exist yet. I'm in the actual survival mode now, and the way that placing the blocks will be is pretty much identical to Minecraft, except that you'll have a little bit more control about like how far away the blocks can spawn and stuff like that, right? Um, it's much more on the grid. There's a grid, and you kind of have to stick to it. Like I'll give a little bit more control than you have in Minecraft, because why not allow you to fully utilize the grid, where you can place blocks in slightly different angles if you want and stuff like that, like this. But it'll be a lot more. Um, it'll be a lot. It'll be the size of the blocks, right? And that'll be basically what you can build with as a regular player. You're going to be just building everything with blocks, different types of blocks. The blocks are a little bit bigger because I don't want to, but maybe I'll have like mini blocks and stuff like that as well. But the idea is that I give you like a ramp block, and like you have to craft them. You have to craft them separately, like just like in Minecraft, right? Just like in 7 Days to Die, you craft a staircase. You craft a cement wall or a cement block, and then you just place them, and you build your bases that way, and then you place your bed, so you set your home point. I'm going very much in that direction. Anyway, I'll bring that kind of stuff up. I now Here's the thing though. Another friend of mine, Raven, is very much a fan of the blame idea, and he's saying that like, well, you should just go all out and make it exactly like blame, and like make it completely that way. And I have to agree on a lot of points. First of all, the fact that Subnautica was so successful is because it was open world survival and something different. It wasn't just a bunch of open fields and shit like that, right? Like it was something that it was all water. It was a watery world, and that kind of made things a lot different. It was a interesting game because of that. Maybe that could be the thing that makes this interesting. I don't know. But what I can definitely say though is that people don't have really amazing spatial sense. So the moment that they have to memorize, 20 or 30 rooms that look basically like this, they're gonna lose their minds. There's nothing I can do about that. But at the same time, yeah, doing open world survival and something like this could be really interesting because it's not the same thing as everything else. Like it would be changing things quite a bit. My feeling is that I want to have this and this, and these outside areas will be between. We'll have like these kinds of walls, these tall walls, and like structures with bridges going over the top, and maybe there's actually like a whole thing up here with even like maybe this could be like a little biome area up here, like a mini biome, and these areas could be like swamp. They can be they could follow all the same basic standards of like you can have like swamp and grassy plains and lava and snowy cold areas and stuff like that, right? But then you go into the interiors, and you end up dealing with a different kind of situation, right? But it ends up kind of all being somewhat similar in some ways. Now, they're also, like what kind of vehicles and stuff like that do I want to have? I might have to have like highways. I know this is a little bit strange, but there might have to be like certain areas that act as sort of like conduits or highways, or something that I can do that nobody really does is having like trams that just sort of run through the map at all times. Like you'll just look up and you'll see a tram go by or something like that, right? Maybe they're only powered during the day, or maybe you have to provide the power to them in order for them to become usable. But like they give you access to areas that you normally wouldn't have been able to gain access to. Now, my problem with my worry about doing areas that are kind of like this though is that it might be too similar to something like Ark maybe, or something like that. I don't think this game's going to be anything like Ark though, but it is the same genre. So, but you're not going to be taming dinosaurs. This is going to be more like you're more likely to be salvaging parts from dead robots and building robots, or stuff like that. You're going to be doing more cyberpunk, possibly steampunk, possibly, futuristic artificial intelligence, cyber hacking, cyber brain type shit, where it's gonna be like, you open up a treasure chest and maybe have some like fucking like humor to it, where like the treasure chest has a personality. When you open it, the treasure chest dies. You know, weird shit like that. Like, um, there could be a lot. There's a lot of room to go in that direction, where it's gonna be there'll be a lot of room for humor, but very dark humor with artificial intelligence, cybernetics, um, electronics, like powerful systems of providing power to certain areas. Maybe there could be areas that are, basically conduits that once you power up the conduit for an entire area, like these areas are, I call them nodes. You can kind of see what they look like a little bit in Blame, but I'm kind of extrapolating the idea further. Is that each of these sections are basically what you would call a node, and the node needs to have power from an external power source, and those wires can be damaged, so the external power source won't provide you with the ability to actually do something. And maybe you know what I mean? Like once you go through and you find all of the parts where the wires are broken, and then you repair them, or you expend resources to repair them, then you manage to actually power up a conduit that is, or not a conduit, but a some kind of a reactor or something like that. Then once it turns on, now all the doors open up and maybe monsters spawn. Maybe it's like a combat event occurs, or maybe um, some enemy faction of technomads show up and they want to take the area over now that you fixed it up, or something like that, and you got to defend the area. Stuff like that, right? And then once you're done being in these tunnels and hallways for a little while, you can get out and go into one of these biomes. Basically, yeah, I guess one of these areas would actually just be technically called a biome, and like you can kind of come up here, and there'll be certain items that you can collect in these biomes that you can't collect on the interiors, and vice versa. There'll be items that you can only get, like computer microchips or something like that, or things of that nature might be more common if you're on the interior stuff, right? So the one thing that I think I'm going to be missing, if I'm not careful, is the infinite feeling. You know what I mean? The the feeling of like that when you look up, there's just like stuff going forever, and that it's like super huge. A lot of that will end up being like backdrop or smoke and mirrors. It'll end up being like stuff that you can't reach, but you'll see it kind of going for like a really long distance and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, that's my thoughts on a lot of this. So let me switch over to desktop mode real quick and exit the game so that I can pop this up. So lists are easier to go for on the inventory system and have the future once the testing has been done. Regarding the block building itself, yeah. Like that, I already addressed that. There's going to be a grid. It's going to be like Minecraft. So you want to put a block down that already exists next to other blocks. Perspective placement is not second nature. Yeah, got all this. Yeah. Everything will be on a grid. As far as the building blocks themselves and the real world impact of finding resources to build, why not uh, draw power from the building? Interesting. I don't know. But there's already a building there, Ellie. I don't understand why you would say that. Like, I would draw power from a building that already exists. What is the goal of the player? It's an open world sandbox style game with a looter shooter aspect to it, and I'll probably have a lot of inspiration taken from the way the XP system works a bit in RL Craft, where everything that you do gains you experience points. So like, and then you spend those points in different trees, and those different trees can level up. And every time you level up that tree, you gain access to other things that you can spend points on in order to like gain passive traits or things of that nature that allow you. Now you can craft potions. Now you can, now you have the ability to craft level 10 potions, and now you can use these things. If you don't have enough points in defense, then this armor is too good for you. You can't equip it. Like, that kind of stuff. Like, I'm kind of leaning and going in that direction where there's just like a lot of different types of stuff. Like, there's certain types of combat armor that's more stealthy, right? And like it allows you to sneak around, and there'll be like actual stealth missions that pop up every once in a while on the map. And if you're really good with stealth, you'll be able to actually try and do those. But there'll be armor that you can't equip that gives you the chameleon ability or something, so that you can hide from enemies. Uh, Stuff like that, right? Like, I want that. This is the kind of shit that I want to see in the game. So like, um, you won't be able to equip it unless you have a certain amount of security skill, you know. So there'll be like, uh, attack and defense and everything like that. I'll go down through all of the different things I want, but I want people going out and fishing. I want people crafting. I want people building stuff. I want to have like this kind of stuff all over the place. I want people choosing kind of what their own goals are. If I want people actually working together, I want to have a certain amount degree of RPG elements too as well, where you have a tank, healer, and DPS kind of holy trinity archetypes and stuff of that nature. I know in the past I've talked out against wanting to have those kinds of things, but I think that I want to have people having a reason to really work together and being dependent on each other. And I want to encourage situations where, like, things are a lot harder unless you have friends with you, and then you can kind of work together, and it ends up being harder because now you can tackle bigger things, and the challenge kind of scales that way. That's what I want. I don't want uh, you know uh, people just being able to log on solo and having just as an easy a time. I want it to actually be kind of a challenge to play solo because I like challenging games. So if I do decide to play solo, then it gets a lot harder. But yeah, like, my thinking though is that that every one of those big structures, the nodes, has stuff in them that can be, that different AI factions can take over. And a lot of this stuff will be simulated when it's out of range or whatever. But like, you can see like, you know, um, a group of level 40 technomads showed up and now have built a little area that's hostile to, uh, you know, your faction, right? In this one node over here. So if you want to get to this other area over here where like there's a market vendor or something like that, or a little town that you want to access of friendly NPCs, you either need to stealth through that area because they're too high level for you, or you have to go around, which means then going to like this other thing, or maybe powering up the tram system so that it's a little bit easier to go over there to from or wherever your base is and stuff like that, right? That's the idea. This is the idea. This is what I want. And yeah, I want to have a lot of that blame. I want to have the style that blame has to it, uh, visually. I want to have that kind of um, like when you look, it's almost Escher painting areas, and have those be sort of like a biome of their own. I think I'm repeating myself at this point though. As for the pixel art, the pixelated look and style, I have to say I never liked that personally. I'm kind of surprised that you went for it. By the way, Alley Cat, I didn't see this post because for some reason it was marked as spam, and yeah, that's why I didn't respond to it sooner. But the thing is the pixelated art style is because I'm one developer. I'm one person doing everything. So, I mean, I have to pick a style that I can do. It would be fantastic if everything can look photorealistic or super like crazy art style where everything is, you know what I mean? Like this is as good as it's gonna be if I'm the only one working on it. Uh, Now this is actually kind of cool, like having like a desert, but that would be like one area. See, like I understand that in Blame and everything like that. That no, actually, I think everything exists in Blame. Like the cities are just huge. There might be an area that it has trees and forests and shit. I don't know. For all we know, I haven't gone through the entire manga yet, but like it's entirely possible that there are just areas like that. Because it's gone so crazy, right? And in my particular case, the different biomes are almost just like different controlled environments, little dome cities, if you will, or dome areas that are just like, there's this kind of wildlife living in this area here, and then there's one of these things over here, and then between them is this sort of, totally crazy like structure, Escher painting kind of stuff that connects those areas together, and then you go between those, and now you're in the desert area, now you're in the swamp area. I actually even want an underwater area. I wouldn't be even slightly against having an underwater area where you actually need to have like a rebreather and stuff like that in order to be able to go down to increase your breathing capacity and stuff, and having like little islands and shit. I think that would be awesome. So I don't the idea is that I don't want to just have one environment. It's got to be a lot of stuff so that there's there's is less monotony, right? And then one of the advantages too of having the Escher painting style, the MC Escher style level geometry building structure thing is not only does it sort of convey an interesting story, like how did this all get here, or why does this all exist, and it also poses interesting combat situations and things of that nature. It's also easier for me to connect these big areas, these big biomes together in a way where technically it's actually fairly straightforward. In fact, some of it can be fucking randomly generated. Like I could probably get, it's not even slightly out of the question that a random generation system of some sort could exist for the interior spaces, and then have the outdoor areas be sort of a um, I don't know, static. But with that said, all right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end the video now. The build that you just saw me running of XAlive is actually a workable build, and my next goals for the editor to to get the icons and stuff like that. So if I start the editor up real quick. So if I get these prefabs and stuff like that, everything's going to have to require that I have some kind of a icon of some sort, right? Like this build right here is actually going to be a build that I'm going to test. Like tomorrow, I'm going to probably get Zombie Doll in here and everything like that. But I need a robust render to texture setup, if it's possible, where I can render out all of the different objects that you can place in the map. I need this really bad. All of the static meshes that represent the objects, not just the static meshes, but the prefabs themselves as well. Like, there has to be something in place where um, I could render this prefab when, and rather than just typing the name of the prefab like this, I actually have like a selection window that pops up, and you can see, icons of all of the different prefabs, and actually see like a little preview so that you don't drive yourself insane trying to remember what all this stuff is, because it's already getting pretty crazy considering how many objects there actually are and everything like that. It's also it's like it took like a huge amount of effort, and it was a total pain in the ass for me to have just set up these icons, which were just literally little screen captures that I had to take of while in the editor. Now, doing this with all of the different materials that can be available for each of these particular objects and stuff like that, and all the reskins and everything, that's just going to be fucking it's not even going to be possible, right? So, like, if I go ahead and I take this chunk right here and I turn this into a prefab that I can reuse more easily and more efficiently, I'm going to have a method where it renders it out so that you can see what it is before you place it, rather than just, trying to remember what all these things are, because there's going to be hundreds of these things, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. So I have to nip this problem in the buds, sooner than later. Um, yeah, I'm going to have to make sure that it's pretty obvious, like what it is you're about to place, what prefab you're about to place, and what does it generally look like. I need to see an icon or a preview or something, even if it just some kind of a representation appears on the screen, I just spawn the model in a tiny way, like right in front of me or something like that. I need something badly. Not just that, but for the items in the game, like the actual in-game items. So if I can possibly, I'm going to be working on this, but I need to set up a way for icons to be auto-generated on the fly whenever I need them to, because I don't know how many different types of items are going to exist, all of the different types of guns, all of the different types of God knows what else, resources and things of that nature. Yeah, there. So that's basically the next goal that I'm going to have, is to make sure that I have a robust like render to texture setup of some sort um, built into the game. Whether or not I have to get something from the marketplace or whatever, it has to happen. This is like an absolute must. I need that for this project or something equivalent. All right, maybe if it's not rendering it in real time, I can at least render it. Click a button and have it batch render all of those things so that I have the icons available to me. Uh, you know, like before I package the game up or something like that. Otherwise, yeah, this is going to be an arduous pain in the butt. Um, so with that said, I'll go ahead and I'll end this video now. Hope you enjoyed, and definitely be staying tuned to this, because I'm actually thinking that this is going to be a pretty legit project. Like, I'm thinking that this isn't just LOL, my first person shooter that I made by myself. This is a little bit bigger than that, I think. I think this is going to be a lot more interesting. The fact alone that it's multiplayer. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and take it easy, guys.